Let's go! It's over, Auburn fans. Face the reality. I was right before the season. So we're going to talk about your Tigers today and if it actually is over already for Bryan Harsin. And obviously the Week 3 slate, I'm not going to lie, kind of sucked. We almost had two major upsets. Arkansas fans, I've been rocking with you for quite some time, and we'll talk about that along with Anthony Richardson at Florida starting to play really bad as the Gators almost got upset by in-state USF. But I want to talk about the Tigers on the Plains, right? Now, as far as the SEC is concerned, the other Tigers, LSU was able to get it done on their home field against Mississippi State, who honestly is about kind of sort of the same talent level as Penn State. But for me, Auburn just got run off the field because of mistakes such as this one. You see it on the right side of your screen right here. This was a simple twist stunt that the right side of this Auburn offensive line just quite simply couldn't pick up. And the funny thing about it, and this honestly is a really well-run twist stunt where the guard and the tackle couldn't pick up either one of them. The issue here was TJ Finley's ball security. He actually made this mistake as a true freshman at LSU. You got to have two hands on the ball right there or else it will get stripped loose. Now, this was just one of many errors that Auburn made. And the funny thing about this game is the box score doesn't actually look too bad. Yes, this game was a blowout, but Auburn was able to actually move the football. They just couldn't finish drives, and they had careless turnovers such as this one, which kind of honestly has been TJ Finley's MO up to this point as a starter in his career. So the bottom line here is Bryan Harsin is in over his head. I thought the coordinator hires weren't that great, and honestly, Penn State, even though the total yards look kind of similar, they were the far better team. So for me, I feel as if Auburn, it is over, and part of it is because of Bryan Harsin and this response right here. Now, it looks a little bit worse than in this tweet. I don't have the clip just pulled up right now, but the simple truth is this. When you start blaming the media, you start running out of excuses. And the meeting room quote right here just isn't a good look for Harsin, who I felt wasn't a good hire. And honestly, there's just too much turmoil. You have a AD leave an elite job, which is an SEC job, in Allen Green, and then you also have a defensive coordinator decide to jump ship and make a lateral move to Oklahoma State. And I'm going to be honest, I did a bunch of anti-Auburn content going into this year, and all Auburn fans are telling me were, hey, you're wrong. Hey, you don't know what you're talking about. And honestly, everything is playing out kind of sort of how I expected it to. Now, truth be told is I could totally be wrong about this because you do have one major thing going in your favor, and that is, of course, two very winnable home games over the next 2 weeks. Missouri is awful right now. If you can't beat them, you do deserve to lose your job. And then the week after, while LSU has won two in a row, the Mississippi State performance overall was kinda, sorta rough. And you still do have this guy in your background, Tank Bigsby. Tank Bigsby and Jarquez Hunter, to me, are still the best tandem running back duo in the SEC. Run the football, don't turn it over, and you might have a chance to go 2-0 these next couple of weeks before you have to, of course, go on the road versus Georgia and Ole Miss. So for me, I think it's over. There's just so much politics and BS that goes along at Auburn that I just don't think any of this is going to get cleaned up before the end of the season, and Bryan Harsin will be fired. Boom! I'm looking at you. Yes, you right now. Thank you guys so much for getting us to 500 subscribers. Comment down below what you would like to see. Do you like film studies? Do you like just general content? Let me know, baby. Let's go! Rest of the SEC is concerned. I did see a few trends overall. Let me just put it this way. There are some teams really struggling with punt and kickoff coverage. LSU was very fortunate to win their game versus Mississippi State despite a rough game on coverage special teams units. But obviously, Arkansas also struggled as well with this very thing, as Missouri State and actually just the game plan overall by Bobby Petrino was nothing short of incredible. Obviously, they jumped out to a 17-0 lead, and in my preview piece, I said, hey, I think Arkansas is going to be just fine versus Missouri State. I didn't think it would take a 17-0 comeback, but that is exactly what it took for Arkansas to actually win this football game. Now, should I be concerned about that and the fact that Florida also almost lost a game versus USF? Let me put it this way. I would be far more concerned right now if I were a Gators fan than if I were an Arkansas fan. First thing is that, yes, this game versus Missouri State for Arkansas featured a lot of distractions. Obviously, Bobby Petrino on the other sideline. There's no doubt, even though these players are young and they probably don't remember even much of the Petrino era, this obviously, I feel, affected Sam Pittman, who even he said after the game he needs to do a better job of getting this team ready to play. So, as many of you know, I love Coach Pittman. I do think he's a great coach. And this obviously was a hiccup performance. But you survived. And if you're Arkansas, that's all that matters. Obviously, if you would have lost this game, this would have been a major setback in a season that does set up really nicely for you, okay? So for me, I wouldn't panic too much if I am Arkansas at this point, because you do play a Texas A&M team next week that, even though they won 17-6, they are still in major disarray. So last week, Arkansas fans, if you were interested, I listed my favorite play callers, and I'm wondering if Kendall Briles is one of the best OCs in the SEC, okay? This is exactly what you want to run here versus too high, two-man underneath coverage, okay? So you're playing two high safeties, and it's man-to-man coverage across the way. The best route, in my opinion, versus two-man is mesh, right? Where you have two interior receivers running two short crossing routes, okay? This actually opened up on a third down versus Auburn. There was just too much pressure in last year's game. Once again, I highly recommend you go check out that breakdown. The first thing here is you can ask a lot of different coaches. The first read oftentimes on mesh rail is actually the running back. Now it is 3rd and 3, and you see Trey Knox is wide the frick open, and if he actually catches this cleanly, he's actually running for a lot of yards right here, okay? But he doesn't catch it cleanly, and it is an interception, okay? Entirely, of course, on Trey Knox. But what I think Arkansas will do in film study is if you get two-man under, the first read in mesh rail oftentimes is going to be your running back, and bam! That right there probably, it's a foot race versus a safety. I don't think Rocket's going to get caught by a linebacker if he hit him in stride. That's going to be open. That is actually where I like to go on mesh rail, okay? The running back is just basically running a wheel-ish kind of route, and he's off to the races. So the play calling, for Biles in the second half actually was really good, and I thought in the first half it was fine as well. You just got to execute. So why did I break that play down? Well, KJ Jefferson's QBR versus Missouri State was 31, and that's obviously not good, but that interception obviously changes it, and QBR does hammer you a little bit more if you're playing against a weak opponent. So that wasn't really Jefferson's fault, and I thought he played fine, not as good as he did in the other two games, but still. This is why I think Florida is in more trouble, right? KJ is playing way better than Anthony Richardson. And next week, Florida is playing against, to me, the most underrated quarterback in the conference, which is Hendon Hooker, and a Tennessee offense that looks really freaking good right now. And next week, KJ Jefferson is going up against Max Johnson and the Texas A&M Aggie offense, which, quite frankly, isn't really all that good. I know they won this past weekend, and I know that they found a way to get it done, and that was really good under the immense pressure after losing to Appalachian State. But still, I don't think A&M is not really all that great. They have a lot of cultural issues with all the suspensions that they've had for apparently curfew violations. Texas A&M is still in disarray, and I feel like Arkansas is in a better spot, even though A&M overall probably has a more talented roster than Tennessee. The quarterback and the coaching just quite frankly isn't as good. And also, KJ Jefferson, his interception is not nearly as bad as this one. This was a good read by Anthony Richardson to take advantage of the one-on-one to the outside, but he gave his receiver absolutely no chance on that jump ball. That's as bad of a jump ball as you're ever going to see. So, yeah, I think that's another thing that's very important. AR-15 has put up 2 consecutive games of QBRs in the teens. So he honestly is quite frankly playing awful. His interceptions aren't like the KJ Jefferson lone interception, which wasn't KJ's fault. A lot of these interceptions are Anthony Richardson's fault. So the bottom line is this. If I were to look at Arkansas and South Florida, yes, almost losing to Missouri State at home is worse than almost losing to South Florida. But I do think the Hogs had a better second half than Florida's second half, and I also think their quarterback is playing better, KJ Jefferson versus obviously Anthony Richardson. And on top of that, I feel as if A&M's quarterback, Max Johnson, still really isn't all that great, and Tennessee's quarterback is really good. Not to mention that Tennessee will be at home in Knoxville, and the game in Dallas, yes, the game is in Texas, at least it's a neutral site game. And one thing to remember is Jimbo Fisher, when it comes to his offense, I know this is going to sound crazy considering how bad his offenses have been at home. Jimbo's road offenses historically have been worse, and that includes neutral site games, okay? So, for me, I feel as if Florida should be very concerned about this matchup on Rocky Top this weekend. So, let me know what you guys think about this video down below, and let me know if you think Bryan Harsin is a done deal. It is! Power Hour, LSU, boom! So, ironically, Anthony Richardson's interception earlier in this game was actually worse than that one. I might do a film study on it later this week. And tonight, oh, look, they're actually running mesh rail as well. Okay? A little coincidence. And that's not what you want to do versus mesh rail. Honestly, I didn't know this. I watched these games highlights. So once again, it's the same thing. So this guy's running mesh through here. This guy's running mesh through here. And what they're trying to do is get this rail. But you see, they're not in man coverage. They are in zone coverage. So this is just, quite frankly, not there. Mesh does not work as well versus zone. So Jerry Bohannon, who ironically is from Earl, Arkansas, throws this off his back leg and makes as bad of a pick as you are going to see. He probably should have stepped up in the pocket and just ran for it. And tonight, what are we having? Oh, some grilled chicken. Let's go.